Hey everybody, Shiv here, membership educator here at Wild Apricot, and I want to share a conversation that I had yesterday with a doctor who's involved with an NGO that provides medical assistance to rural areas in India. And the question the doctor asked me was that, how do we get more sponsors to help us expand to different areas within India, because they're going to need a lot more funding to go from one rural community to 30 rural communities. And she was talking about how the founder of the NGO was planning on using some Facebook engagement as a way to recruit sponsors. And my advice to her was very basic. I said, look, you are an NGO and you need sponsors. Instead of going the Facebook route, you need to take the far more direct approach, because when it comes to sponsorship, you really only have to worry about two things. The first is, what are the benefits that you're providing to sponsors? Why should they even care about what you're doing? But also, what's in it for them? What do they get out of it by sponsoring you? What kind of reach do you give them? Do you have a newsletter? Do you have people that you can expose them to if they sponsor your organization? And number two, you need a sales process to acquire those sponsors in the first place. So most organizations, what they do is they're just going to have a sponsorship page on their website, and then they hope sponsors will flock to them, but that's not actually what happens. What a good sales process for sponsorships looks like is that, one, you have ongoing outreach. So you have somebody that's constantly reaching out to potential sponsors and telling them about your organization, what you're doing, and what you need their money for. Two, you need to follow up with them once they respond and they express interest. So if they say, hey, this sounds great, I would like to become involved with your nonprofit NGO, association or club, can you send me some more information? So you might want to have a follow-up call with them, send them some sort of a pitch deck, and then explain the opportunity in more detail. That's where you get kind of like into the whining and dining of a potential sponsor, especially given the amount of money that's at stake. If you're talking about this NGO of this doctor that I was speaking to yesterday, they need hundreds of thousands of dollars to actually expand to all those different regions, right? So they need to get into more of a personal interaction with all the sponsors that they're trying to acquire. And third, you actually need to close the deal. So once you have a party that's interested, you need a process. What does that look like? Do you have a contract in place? Do you have different sponsorship packages? For example, bronze, silver, gold. What is the value of a bronze sponsorship package versus a gold sponsorship package? And why should they go to the gold one and pay you more? And that's actually an incentive for you to create more and more incentives that escalate depending on the sponsorship package. And then once you've figured all of this stuff out, what's your process and what benefits that you provide to them, you actually need to execute. So when you're executing, you need to think about, first of all, who are you going to reach out to? First, I would start with my personal network. Who do you have within your network that has access to a potential sponsor? Somebody who works at a big company, like with this NGO, if they're trying to get, let's say, medication to rural areas, maybe they know somebody that works in a pharmaceutical company that would be interested in sponsoring an initiative like this as part of their community outreach initiatives. And two, compile a list of potential sponsors that may be interested in sponsoring your organization. Some ideas on doing this is looking around to see who's already sponsoring stuff like this. If there's a company out there, for example, that's sponsoring a lot of cancer research and your organization is involved with cancer research, it's probably a good idea to reach out to that person to see if they're interested in sponsoring another cancer research associated cause. And the way you can find this out is by looking at on the websites. If you go on the Canadian Cancer Society website, you can often see who's sponsoring them, and that gives you a list of leads for you to go after for your organization. So in summary, go through and figure out what your sponsorship benefits are. Two, figure out a sales process. And three, actually find potential sponsors who you can reach out to and then begin executing. And when you do all that, it's going to be a lot of pounding the pavement work. It's a lot of hard work, and it's consistent work. They're not going to come flocking to you. You have to go to them. And hopefully, if you put in that work over time, you're going to land a great sponsor that gives you the money to support your cause. And that's it for today's video. What I've done is I've linked in the description one of our best webinars to date. It's with Joe Waters, and it's on how to create win-win sponsorships. So check that webinar out. It goes into this process in far more detail. And that's it for today. Thanks a lot.